Welcome to the Prompt Index. I'm host, and today we're unpacking a timely study that asks, can language models generate descriptive, human-friendly labels for clusters of scientific documents, and should we trust them to do so at scale? The paper comes from Dakota Murray, Chaoqun Ni, Weiye Gu, and Trevor Hubbard, and it centers on how to move from terse, jargon-heavy labels to readable summaries that help non-experts grasp what a cluster is really about. The core problem is clear. Traditional labels pull out distinguishing terms from the documents themselves, producing what the authors call characteristic labels. They're precise but dense and often hard for a broad audience to parse. Descriptive labels, generated by language models, aim to summarize the cluster's theme in plain language, more like what a human annotator would write. The big question, do these descriptive labels actually distinguish clusters, as well as, or better than, characteristic labels? And how should we design and evaluate a system that uses LLMs to produce them? Methodologically, the authors lay out a rigorous workflow. They formalize two label types, define descriptive labeling as an LLM-driven step that takes extracted cluster characteristics and turns them into a label, and contrast this with characteristic labeling. They then build a practical, iterative labeling process. First, extract three kinds of cluster characteristics. Characteristic terms, from dimensions concepts with TF-IDF weighting, prominent venue titles, and prominent paper titles. These are encoded into prompts for a language model. They test OpenAI's ChatGPT line. They use a two-tier approach. An initial label is generated, then a validation loop checks across label validity and within label validity, regenerating as needed up to 10 iterations. Validation criteria include label length, duplicates, and specificity, which they measure via embeddings and cosine similarity to cluster summaries. Data and evaluation are surprisingly thorough. They cluster 15,000 papers per field down to about 100 clusters using Spectre embeddings, UMAP, and HDB scan. They test across 4 fields: plant biology, oncology and carcinogenesis, artificial intelligence, and applied and developmental psychology. Then compare descriptive versus characteristic labels through a targeted human-in-the-loop evaluation, a multiple-choice task where annotators pick the label that best maps to a cluster. They also introduce a label shift metric to quantify how design choices shift the semantic content of labels across workflow variations. What did they find? Descriptive labels are more legible and human-friendly and perform at least as well as characteristic labels in uniquely identifying clusters, with some fields showing clear advantages. Model choice and prompt design matter, and including key cluster terms and representative paper titles strongly impacts label quality. Limitations include scale and reliance on clustering quality, but the framework provides a principled path forward. Impact, then, is practical. A transparent, open framework for deploying LLMs in bibliometrics, enabling scalable, interpretable labeling that can accompany real-world analytics and visualization tools. Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please like and subscribe to our channel. To advance your AI knowledge further, check out our free resources at the Prompt Index. You'll find the link in the description below. Until next time.